All right, everyone, welcome back. Josh Bitar and Alexander Goldman for FTS MMA, and once again joined by one of the head coach at Xtreme Couture and the 2022 FTS MMA Coach of the Year, Eric Nicksick. Eric, thank you for joining us, man. How are you?
What's up, fellas? Good to see you guys again.
Appreciate it, man. Look, first thing I want to sort of start with, Eric, is earlier in the week I was on my Instagram and I was looking through my saved folders, and I had a folder there from 2020, and I was going through it, and it was funny enough that I found this week when all this stuff with Francis was happening. It was actually an interview with Brett Okamoto of ESPN and Dana White. And the question Brett asked was, and I'll read it, what is your thoughts on John moving up to heavyweight and his real interest in fighting Francis Ngannou? Dana said, is John Jones going to go in and fight Francis Ngannou and try and take a run at the heavyweight title? I don't believe that. And for the amount of money he's asking, it's not going to happen. I'm mentioning this to you, man, because the amount of flack that Francis copped in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and probably over the course of the last 5 months, with saying he fumbled the bag, and people are so quick to switch up on people like Francis. What has it been like for you, being behind the scenes and seeing the decision making process from Francis' side, but seeing how the public was reacting to his decisions?
The public side of things was kind of weird to me because I see Francis firsthand, and I understand his actions, his heart, and how he takes care of everybody around him. And you always want to defend your own, right? Like, you can say something about me, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. But you say something about my boy, like, that's my fucking brother, and it hits you a little bit different. So, and instead of like taking to social media and trying to fight all these battles, I kind of just pulled myself out of it a little bit and just focused on my work and what got us here in the first place. Because you and I both know, like, you're not going to win these battles. You're just going to stay up all night and you're going to argue with idiots. You're going to argue with idiots. And let's not forget, who runs the narrative. You've seen they speak out of both sides of their mouth, these promoters, and and then like look at the timeline. February of 2020, John Jones says, "I'm going to move up to heavyweight." Right? We fight Stipe March of 2021. That's a year and 1 month. And we still don't, we're told you're going to fight John next, and you're going to fight John in July, International Fight Week. That was the plan. So not only, so timeline, a year and 1 month, right? Still nothing. Then, okay, we fight him in July, no contract, no nothing. Hold on. Now you guys are going to fight Derek Lewis instead. Oh, but wait. Can you fight Derek Lewis here? Oh, because we need a main event now. We need a title fight because it's on pay-per-view. Oh, we need it on pay-per-view because we got to sell this, right? And now, no. Actually, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put Cyril Gahn in there as an intern because our contract for UFC says on pay-per-views we have to have a title fight. Let's just call it what it is. And they didn't do that. They try to do? They try to slander the man and say that he's out on vacation, he's out partying, he's out this, he's out that. No, man, the dude was back home. He was back home with his family. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He wasn't out at clubs. He wasn't chasing chicks. But how do they want to run the narrative? So they can paint you like a villain. They can make you look this way or that way. And, sometimes you're the benefactor of that news and sometimes you're not. But look, the golden boy right now for the UFC is obvious. It's John Jones, right? So they're going to pump him. They're going to pump his narrative and everything else. Let's not forget, there was almost 3 years, guys, where we could have fought John Jones. Yeah. And look, I'm not trying to throw anybody in the bus. I don't know who said, I don't know if this is true or not, but I know that Dana and Hunter told me and Francis to our face at dinner that they couldn't get a hold of John Jones for 2 months. They couldn't get a hold of him. Yeah. Because Francis asked them point blank, how come this fight never transpired? Oh, we couldn't even get a hold of John. Now, is that true or not? I don't know. Maybe that's a lie. I don't know. We hear a lot of different things, but Francis asked them point blank, how come this fight never happened? Man, we couldn't even get a hold of John. What does that mean? Yeah. What does that mean? Can you get a hold? I don't know. Yeah. But that's what they told us. That's what they told us. No. And now Francis is ducking this man. No one's ducking anybody, dude. Yeah. And look, I'm not even saying John's ducking Francis. I don't know. All I know is we were in the UFC for 3 years when this guy was supposed to move up and it never happened. Right? Yeah. Now all of a sudden we decide to go and test our stuff out on the free agency. in the market and see what we get. And he hit the fucking jackpot, boys. And he's happy. And he's happy. And that's all I give a shit about, man. Now, we saw an interview that I did, and it kind of spun what I said. I was depressed. Yeah, I was depressed because we didn't get the opportunity to fight the baddest man on the planet, the GOAT, and John Jones. We wanted to test our mettle, bro, against one of the baddest motherfuckers, and that's John. And that's me as a competitor. That's all. That's the only thing I was mad about. Oh man, I would really love that fight. A lot of people wanted that fight to happen, not just me, right? But a lot of people did. So it is what it is. We're all happy. We're all healthy. And we talk about this all the time. People were angry and mad, and all they want to do is spill hate. Man, success is for everybody. We can all be successful. We can all share it. It's infinite. So be happy for one another.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. So, Eric, kind of that leads into my next question quite well, actually. Talking about a fighter that's received a lot of hate and maybe not as much appreciation as they deserve is Aljamain Sterling. And the last time we spoke, actually, it was heading into the second Peter Yan fight. And we talked about how a lot of people were underestimating Aljamain. They weren't respecting his skill set heading into that rematch. I still feel like after the Henry Cejudo fight, there's still kind of a lot of hate and underappreciation for Aljamain's skill set and his work rate as a champion. Do you think Aljamain Sterling is still underrated? And do you think, a dominant victory over Sean O'Malley, which is, I'll be honest, it's what I'm predicting. Do you think that can maybe finally get him over the hill where the fans start to appreciate what a great champion he is?
I don't think if they can't do it now, then why are they going to do it? They're going to find, people will find more things to tear you down and make you feel like you're not your worth. He goes out there and steamrolls Sugar Sean, and they're still going to find, oh, well, his jiu-jitsu isn't very good. Oh, well, he couldn't do that to Umar. Oh, go fight Marab. People will find reasons to tear you down and hate on you. But I'm so proud of Aljo and the way he's carried himself, not only in the first Peter Yan fight, the second one, the way he came back and redeemed himself, the way he carried himself versus TJ Dillashaw, the way he did what he did to Henry Cejudo. It was a super close fight, but Henry Cejudo is no walk in the park, right? Everybody thought Henry was just going to take him down or beat him up on the feet and do this and do that. He proved a lot of people wrong again. So at what point does the fan base just go, hey, man, this dude is fucking legit. Give him the credit where credit's due. And I think it's just something where people are just going to always kind of have that, I wouldn't say hatred towards him, but even before the Piotr Yan thing, I don't think Aljo was loved by a lot of fans. He's brash, he's loud, he's this, he's that. But you know what, man? When he shows up to this gym, when he takes care of his coaching staff and the people around him, that's all I care about. He's a solid character to me and everybody that he surrounds himself with, and he's a great, great champion. That's all that matters. Definitely.
Circling back just one sec, Eric. I know just speaking on the John Jones fight actually happening with Francis, and I watched your interview with Submission Radio. They're good, good with us, and we like those boys. But I liked one thing you said, which I thought was pretty profound, which you said that you trust the next chapter because you know who the author is, and I really like that quote. You have that trust in Francis because you know what type of guy he is. It's his career, and you know sort of where it's going to go. So ultimately, for you, do you think that we end up seeing that Francis fight with John Jones? Because it was a fight for me personally before I even knew you, or, we did this sort of thing that I was clamoring for. I thought this was going to be the greatest fight that we'd ever see. So, I was disappointed too. So for you, do you think that is a fight that before it's all said and done, we eventually do see that some way or another?
I'll reiterate what I said too, is like, I'm just an optimistic guy and I hope for the best. And that is something that we all want. I think deep down inside, John, Francis, Dana, the UFC, I think everybody wants this fight to happen at some point because it does. It answers a lot of questions. It's a great money fight. Both gentlemen are going to make a shit ton of money, right? And then at the end of the day, there's no more argument on who is the baddest man on the planet when it comes to John and Francis. Let them go figure it out, man. And it's no disrespect, at least from my end. I like both of these guys a lot. And I think that, they're hyping up the fight and they're still keeping a build up and still keeping it relevant. And let's not forget at the end of the day, like ESPN and WME, they're the ones that write the checks. And if the people writing the checks say, hey, no, you're going to put your ego aside and you're going to put your ego aside and we're going to get this done and we're going to get some people paid, somebody might go over their head and make that happen. So who knows, man? But at the end of the day, I hope it does eventually, and we'll see.
Yeah.
For sure. So, Eric, there's been a lot of talk recently about how, different it is scoring a fight, watching it live versus, on TV. So, with the Aljamain and Cejudo fight, most people watching it at home had it 4-1 Aljo. And most people watching it, in the arena had it 3-2 Cejudo, or, some even had it 4-1 Cejudo. So from someone who's, obviously been in the arena many times, both as a coach and a fan, and also someone who has, watched the fights at home, what is sort of the biggest difference watching and scoring a fight live versus on TV? Is it the angles you can see while you're watching it on TV, or, what is the biggest difference in your mind?
Yeah, I think angles certainly have an effect on it. And if you remember, so we're sitting down and then literally like there's the apron's kind of right here. So you're almost looking up to this direction when you're cornering or even if you're judging. Some of the judges have a little bit of a higher seat, like a taller seat. So they're looking more straight ahead. The other thing that I think that you have to factor in is the crowd. The crowd does have an effect to me. Cornering definitely has an effect to me. And that's something during the COVID year, during the pandemic, we had the foresight to understand right before it was the Jacksonville, the very first sporting event of COVID was the card in Jacksonville. And we started sparring. I had everybody spar with the music completely off because I wanted to get used to how kind of eerie that feeling is and that vibe. But it also led to us to believe or to understand, well, hey, the judges are going to hear everything that we say. Not only will the judges hear our opponent and the other corner. So we have to make sure that we're all on point. Even if our guy's losing, we have to make sure the judges are hearing us talk in a certain way or a certain manner that they feel like we're winning the fight. Remember when Paul Felder fought RDA?
Yeah.
Right? Paul lost the fucking fight. Bro, the judge sitting to my right scored the fight for Paul. So I'm literally talking to the judge. I'm not even talking to Paul Felder at this point. I'm like, oh, that was landed, huh? That was beautiful. That was this. Chris Lee, God bless him. Chris Lee gives the fucking fight to Paul Felder. Like,
you can't write this shit.
Even Felder after the fight, Paul's like, this dude gave me the fight? I was like, bro, I was milking that guy, bro. Yeah. God damn. So there's definitely a big difference from TV and live, and then when you're there. I'm with you guys. I had it Aljo 4-1. I thought it was an easy fight to score. And I even tweeted just kind of jokingly. I'm like, it'll probably be split just to kind of see. Yeah. And sure as shit, man, it was split. But that's a good point, man. It's very different when it's live.
Definitely. Eric, I know I heard Francis on Barra Helwani on Monday or Tuesday here, and he was sort of talking about his boxing fights and saying that he'd either be in favor of a tune-up fight or he'd just go straight into Tyson Fury or a Deontay Wilder type. For you, as a coach and a friend of his, is there a direction you would rather see him go first? Would you rather see him get that maybe tune-up fight in boxing, or do you think full throttle into that Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder matchup?
I think it really depends on how long he wants to box for, right? Is he trying to make this more of a career where he wants to get 3 or 4 of these boxing matches in, or is it a big one and done? I don't know. I will tell you this. I mean, this has always been a passion of his. This is the reason why he even got into combat sports to begin with, is because he wanted to box. So if he's telling me like, hey man, here's an opponent that I think I can go out and test and see how I feel and see if I like it, rather than jumping at the deep end of the pool, then that tells me that he wants to kind of get better at this craft and then evolve and then maybe eventually earn the right to fight one of these guys, right? But then if you're just like, hey, man, that Tyson Fury fight, it's going to happen and it's going, and then we're just jumping in and fighting this dude and making a bunch of money, then you know what, bro, it's going to be a tough fight for us. I completely understand that. But if that's the idea and he's going to make 20, 30 million and he's good and he's set for his life, then do that too. But I really think it's more about availability and what comes up, because when it starts to push around August or September for him, and if we don't have anything for boxing, as a coach, I'm going to tell him, hey man, we got to start transitioning back into our MMA stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
For sure. So Eric, we focused on obviously some of the bigger talent because there's in MMA today, because there's been so much news, but one thing we like to do here is also focus on new and upcoming talent. So, I wanted to know, are there any people in particular at, Xtreme Couture right now, either, as amateur fighters or someone who's just turned pro that, you can sort of talk about, someone that you think is really going to make a splash in MMA today?
So tonight on LFA, Puni Braden, he's fighting LFAs, one of our 125ers. This kid has been at Extreme Couture for a long time. He's one of the Hawaii boys that came over with Brad Tavares, homegrown talent. He's out there with Coach Jimmy Gifford. This kid is must-see TV. He strikes from both angles. His movement, he came in more as a striker, and then his last sparring session, I'm not even joking, you guys. I had tears in my eyes because I was so proud of what I watched him do. And he was taking guys down. He was taking what was available rather than forcing the action. And what became available was his wrestling. This is something that always hampered him. He didn't like wrestling. And I watched this kid just form into a complete martial artist. And I was so happy and so proud of what I saw on him on his last spar. So he'll be on tonight for LFA. He's must-see TV, guys. He's so fun to watch.
Definitely.
And then we got Mateus Camilo. Mateus just won on Sean Merriman's card, Lights Out.
Mm-hmm.
He is a throwback. Mateus is a featherweight.
Mm-hmm.
I can put Mateus in here with Puna, Brad, Sean, Francis. It doesn't matter. Mateus will go, and he will go hard. It doesn't matter who you put him in with. So if you're trying to take a nice round off and have a nice, easy touch spar,
you'll find
Mateus is not the guy to go with. Yeah. And people will come to me and be like, man, he goes too hard. I'm like, listen, I ain't trying to change who he is. I'm not trying to change who he is. Slow it down a little bit, maybe here, there. You got to take care of your training partner. He's not trying to knock everybody out. But there's an edginess to him, a throwback edginess to him. Because remember, guys, I've been here since day one. And I've seen these fucking wars that went on in this gym. And Mateus has that throwback mentality that I love so much about his style. And, he's either a fight away or he's on Contenders. Like, he's right there.
Wow.
Because he's going in and he's finishing fights. He's putting dudes away. He's a fun one to watch. Another young guy within our stable. He's been here since he's like 16 years old. So another great talent that you guys will be hearing from soon.
Definitely. We'll keep an eye on it, man, for sure. Well, look, Eric, a couple last ones from us. Last one from me, anyway, is obviously I know you spoke about Sean Strickland and the opportunity that could arise, considering his next fight and the outcome of that fight and, the sort of middleweight title picture at the moment. It is a bit sort of all over the shop because Izzy has sort of fought everyone. The guy he hasn't fought yet is Sean Strickland. How is Sean sort of thinking, knowing that a dominant win for him in his next fight really could have him in a good position to be fighting for a title soon?
Yeah, he's completely aware of that. That was part of the conversation that we had about maybe not taking this fight because there might be an opportunity for him to slide in there. We were pressing for the Dricus fight. That was a fight we wanted. Ironically, I think Dricus actually has the worst of the draw. Like, you got to fight Rob. Like, I'd rather fight Sean than Robert Whitaker. And we all know that to me, like, there's 1A and 1B in that division, and it's Israel and Rob. Those two are unbelievable talents. And for us, we have to navigate now, and we have to get a win versus a boost. But you're absolutely right. It does put us right back in that driver's seat in the middleweight contention again.
For sure. Well, look, Eric, last one from me, man. MMA, it's a game that, it's evolving so quickly even today. And I wanted to know your opinion as a coach. What do you think is going to be the next sort of, not so much evolution technically, but something that, most guys start to implement? Because from my mind, it's just going to be more intelligent use of a jab and feints in particular.
I think guys are starting to understand who and what they are with their pedigrees. We were talking not too long ago with one of my young kids, and the thing that came up was the guys, I think, in this new generation of fighters didn't play another sport, right? Like, I played football and then it transitioned over, right? And then guys wrestled and transitioned over, which those two go hand in hand. But, baseball players and NBA guys or basketball players and everything else. These young kids nowadays that are coming up, that are now getting in the UFC, the Raul Rosas of the world, they've done one thing their entire life, and that's MMA, right? they've done their jiu-jitsu, wrestling, kickboxing, and then they found a place to go and blend it all together and make it work. So what you're starting to see to me is a identity of the martial arts where they are aware of their technical prowess in anything and everything that they do. And what do I mean by that? It's like driving a Ferrari. Like it's a sports car. It's capable of doing all sorts of things. You want to drive it nice and slow down the road, it can do that. But you want to go 120 on the freeway, it can do that too. And those are the things I think that I'm starting to see with more and more of these younger athletes. Kai Kamaka, for example. I love what this kid is doing with his skill set, and he's able to implement it from the feet to the floor. And he's always studying. He's always working. His job, his 9 to 5, is fighting. That's it. So the evolution of this game to me has been more of a commitment to the craft rather than like, hey, this guy, bartends at night and then he comes in and trains and then only trains when he has a fight. Yeah. Right. You see that quite a bit too. And this is now a lifestyle for these fighters. They're doing this twice a day, anywhere from 5 to 6 times a week. And the skill level, to me, there's really not a lot of holes in the game, right? There's not a lot of holes in these fighters' games. So the evolution of growth has been the biggest thing I've noticed for sure.
For sure. Well, look, Eric, thank you so much for joining us today, man. We really appreciate you, as always, giving us some time. Wishing you all the best, man, especially in preparing Francis for, whatever lies next in his journey. But yeah, man, we'd love to talk to you again in future. We wish you all the best.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Anytime, anybody that's voting for me for Coach of the Year, you got it.
So appreciate it, brother.
Thanks, all right, guys. Have a good one, man. Take care, fellas.